Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today I'm building Yor Forger. After the build, be sure to check out my channel to vote for the next one, and hey, maybe check out my Patreon too, if you want. So what do we want from this build? Well, Yor is a professional assassin, but not the stealthy kind? More the kind where she'll walk into someone's room, announce that she's here to kill them, ask them if that's okay, and then slaughter them and all of their bodyguards. Basically, we need to be good at killing. That means we need to be in fantastic shape. Lloyd may be more skilled in spycraft, but in a head-to-head fight between the two, my money's on Yor. And finally, we need to be a good mother. And by that I mean going absolutely apeshit on anyone who threatens Anya. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, just make sure your strength and dexterity are high enough to multiclass. Starting off with a 13 in strength. Yor can smash through a melon with her fingertips, and I'm willing to bet she can do the same to a person. Dexterity is 15, I would class her signature thorn weapons as daggers, which are finesse weapons, and can therefore use dexterity for their attack and damage rolls. We'll put our 10 in constitution, purely because she can handle exactly 0 alcohol before getting drunk, then our 12 goes into intelligence. Yor knows a lot of rather gruesome facts about the human body and how to make it stop working, but she's also a little bit of an airhead, so this doesn't need to be especially high, and we'll just straight up dump wisdom. One of the entire points of the series is that Yor and Lloyd don't realize the other is hiding their true profession, so we need to have as low insight as possible. Then we'll finish up with a 14 in charisma. We need low insight to not realize Lloyd is lying, but we'll need good deception so he doesn't realize the same about us. As a variant human, we can get more physically fit by rounding off our strength and dexterity with our 2 free points, and taking the athlete feat. That bumps our strength up 1 more point, lets us climb without spending extra movement, makes it so we only need 5 feet of run up for our jumps, and lets us stand from prone with only 5 feet of movement rather than half of our speed. We get a skill as well. I'll say medicine to start learning the human body's weak points. Yor lives a normal life working at a government office until she's contacted and activated as the assassin known as the Thorn Princess, which just screams Demir operative to me. We get proficiency in deception and stealth, though we'll switch out the disguise kit proficiency for poisoner's kits instead, since Yor doesn't actually wear a disguise when assassinating and even wears the same dress to parties. We also get Demir spells, but we're not gonna be any kind of spellcasting class, so we can just ignore that. More importantly, we have a false identity that lets us hide our assassinness with documentation and established acquaintances and such. It probably won't come as a large surprise that we're starting off as a rogue, giving us 4 skills from the rogue list. My picks are acrobatics, athletics, intimidation, and sleight of hand. Then we get to upgrade 2 of our skills to expertises, and for those I'll say athletics and medicine. We learn to use thieves' tools and thieves' can't, and we can make a sneak attack once per turn, adding extra damage to an attack we land using a finesse or ranged weapon, as long as we had an ally within 5 feet of the target or advantage on the attack. The extra damage starts at 1d6 and it increases by a d6 every odd-numbered rogue level, so at 3rd it'll be 2d6, 5th, 3d6, etc. At 2nd level we can use Cunning Action to dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action, then at 3rd we'll become a scout. As a survivalist, we get 2 free expertises in survival and nature, and as a skirmisher, we can move up to half of our speed without provoking opportunity attacks as a reaction to an enemy ending their turn within 5 feet of us. Rogues also get steady aim at this level, letting us use our bonus action to get advantage on an attack as long as we don't move before or after. Luckily, thanks to skirmisher, we can save at least some of the moving for our reaction, and just not move on our turn to get advantage on our attack. Then we can pick up the mobile feat to stretch skirmisher even farther, increasing our speed by 10 feet, letting us ignore difficult terrain when we dash, and making it so we don't provoke opportunity attacks from creatures we've made a melee attack against in the same turn. Uncanny Dodge at 5th level uses our reaction to halve the damage of an attack that hits us as long as we can see the attacker. And at 6th level we'll upgrade our acrobatics and intimidation proficiencies to expertises as well. Next we'll get even dodgier with evasion. Whenever we make a dexterity save for half damage, we instead take no damage on a success and half damage on a fail. And would you look at that, we're proficient in dexterity saves. It's funny how that works. At 8th level we'll grab the Piercer feat. That rounds off our strength to 16, lets us reroll 1 piercing damage die per turn, and adds an extra die to our piercing damage rolls when we crit. Our speed goes up by another 10 feet with superior mobility at 9th level, then we'll put down the thorns and put up our fists, as the Fighting Initiate feat gives us the unarmed fighting style. Our unarmed strikes deal a d6 of damage, or a d8 if we aren't holding a weapon or a shield. We can also deal a free d4 every turn to a creature we have grappled. Keep in mind that this does not work with our sneak attack, since unarmed strikes are not finesse weapons, and they're definitely not ranged weapons. 11th level rogues get reliable talent, making it so the lowest we can roll on any ability check we're proficient with is 10. This pairs ridiculously well with all of our expertises, making any checks we make using with those skills automatically at least 17 at this level, and at least 21 at 20th level, once our proficiency goes up to its maximum. We'll bump dexterity to 18 with an ASI, then become an ambush master as a 13th level scout. We get advantage on initiative rolls, and the first creature we hit during the first round of combat is easier to hit, as any further attacks against that creature until the start of our next turn have advantage. Those could be our allies' attacks or our own opportunity attacks. Blind Sense at 14th level lets us tell where any hidden or invisible creatures within 10 feet of us are, provided we can hear. And we can pick up proficiency in wisdom saves with Slippery Mind at 15th level. This nicely ties up a problem with having low wisdom, in that Yor is gullible, but she's also not easily frightened, in combat at least. Social situations and fears about being a bad mother are different. Fear effects are usually wisdom saves, and now we're not bad at those. We'll bump our strength to 18 with our last ASI so it matches our dexterity. If you want to cap off dex instead, that's not a bad choice either, but I'm going with strength. Our sneak attack damage ends up at 9d6 at 17th level, which is especially deadly thanks to the 17th level scout ability, Sudden Strike. When we take the attack action, we can make a second attack as a bonus action. Unusually though, this second attack can deal our sneak attack damage even if we've already used our sneak attack on the same turn. The only caveat is that we can't use sneak attack on the same creature twice in the same turn. So this is either a second chance to hit and use sneak attack if we miss the first stab, or a second burst of sneak attack damage against a second creature. 18th level rogues are elusive, meaning that as long as we're not incapacitated, attacks cannot have advantage on us at all. This is obviously fantastic, but it's about to get even more nuts as we hop over and finish the build off as a Barbarian. We get unarmored defense, making our AC 10 plus our dexterity and constitution modifiers. This is great, flavor-wise, since Yor doesn't wear armor, but it's also pointless mechanically since we have +0 to our constitution. You can just ignore it. More importantly, we can go into a motherly rage twice per day as a bonus action. This lasts for a minute, though it ends early if we don't attack or take damage for a turn, and while raging, we get advantage on strength checks and saves, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and we add 2 to the damage of our strength-based melee attacks. Our capstone is the second level of Barbarian, which is the level where Rogue Barbarian multiclasses really start to shine. Danger Sense gives us advantage on dexterity saves against visible effects, which pairs wonderfully with our evasion, and Reckless Attack lets us get advantage on all of our strength-based melee attacks for the turn at the cost of giving all attacks against us advantage until our next turn. Sneak Attack does not require us to use dexterity for the attack, it just requires a finesse weapon. So we can choose to use strength and get advantage on every attack we make with no downside, since thanks to elusive, attacks against us can't have advantage, making our reckless attacks not so reckless after all. Now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, I was just talking about it a second ago, but the combination of sneak attack, elusive, and reckless attack is nuts, especially with sudden strike giving us a second sneak attack. That's effectively 4 times the chance to crit on any given turn, which lets us then hit for an additional 19d6 damage. We also have decent mobility. 50 feet of movement can take us a fair way, especially if we bonus action dash and regular action dash. Plus we have a climbing speed, we can ignore difficult terrain, and between mobile, cunning action, and skirmisher, we're very unlikely to ever have to deal with opportunity attacks. And we're pretty good with skills too. We've got 9 skill proficiencies, 6 of which are expertises, and reliable talent to make them even more consistently good. Especially interesting, since we have medicine proficiency and reliable talent, we can't fail medicine checks to stabilize creatures. The DC on those is just 10. So we can use our great mobility to run into combat, auto-succeed on a check to stabilize someone, then pick them up with our athletics expertise and get out of combat without fearing reprisal. On the other hand, despite being effectively immune to opportunity attacks, we're still a little too easy to hit for my taste. We do have medium armor proficiency, so we can fix that, but Yor doesn't wear armor. So to be in flavor, we're looking at 14 AC from our 18 dexterity and non-existent constitution. We're also a little lacking in the range department. Daggers can be thrown, which is something at least, but they've only got 20 feet of range before we're rolling with disadvantage. And Reckless Attack only works on melee attacks, so we can't just automatically cancel that out or automatically get sneak attack with them. But our biggest issue is that since our constitution is at +0, we don't even have 100 HP. We can get worn down real quick by any attacks that pass our mediocre AC, and of course, there's the ever-present threat of Power Word Kill to worry about.
しまった。ついやりすぎてしまいました。死んでないかしら。
Wow. Thank you for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the build. Head on over to my community tab if you want to vote for the next character for me to do. This week is between Elsa from Frozen, Edna Mode, the Incredibles costume designer, Jeanne d'Arc, the ruler class servant from Fate, and our runner-up from last time, TF2's Medic. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below, and they could show up in a future poll. Leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more, and if you want to support what I'm doing here, you can check the description for the link to my Patreon, for access to the Discord channel, early access to future builds, and exclusive Patreon content. Thanks again for watching. I will see y'all later.